Mocked as the weakest human now, the aliens beg him to rescue the princess. Trapped in the sandworm's belly, the twin suns of the desert burned hot above the alien empire. Golden towers rose from the endless sand, sharp and bright like blades. Inside those towers, the strongest warriors of the empire trained, their weapons shining, their muscles hard like stone. But among them stood one human, a stranger, weak in body, smaller than the rest, and often the target of cruel laughter. The warriors mocked him every day. "Look at his arms, so thin," they said. "He cannot even lift a proper sword." Another shouted. Their laughter echoed in the great hall, while the human lowered his head and stayed silent. He had been brought here years ago, offered as a soldier, but treated as nothing more than a weak servant. No one saw him as a fighter. No one saw him as a protector. But there was one exception, the princess. She was young, kind, and unlike the rest of her people. Where others mocked, she smiled. Where others turned away, she spoke gently. Sometimes she asked him about Earth, about human ways, about songs and stories of his people. And though he felt like a shadow in the palace, in her eyes, he felt almost human again. Then came the day of the Festival of Suns. The empire gathered in the desert. Drums thundered, banners flew, warriors showed their strength in contests. The air was hot with celebration, the ground shook with dance, and at the center of it all, the princess herself walked, her golden robes flowing, her laughter carrying across the crowd. But deep beneath the sand, something ancient stirred. The sound came first, a low rumble, like thunder rolling inside the earth. The ground cracked, spilling dust into the air. The people screamed as the sand split open, and from that black wound rose a nightmare, the sandworm. It was enormous, taller than towers, its mouth a circle of endless teeth, its body moving like a mountain in motion. The desert shook under its weight. The warriors who had bragged about strength now trembled. The sandworm roared, and the sound was so loud that even the suns above seemed to tremble. The princess tried to run, but the ground gave way beneath her. With a terrible cry, she was dragged toward the monster. The sandworm's mouth opened wide, swallowing her in a single horrifying moment. Then the beast dived back under the sand, vanishing as if it had never been there. Silence fell, broken only by the sound of the wind. The people were frozen, their joy shattered into fear. The generals shouted, "Form lines, prepare weapons." But their voices shook with doubt. The strongest warriors of the empire stood trembling, none daring to follow the monster into the desert. For centuries, legends spoke of the sandworm, but no one had faced it and returned alive. And then, in that silence, the human stepped forward, the same human they had laughed at, the one they had called weak. He looked at the empty sand where the princess had disappeared, and his jaw tightened. He remembered her kindness, her voice, her gentle questions about his home. He could not stand by while she was lost forever. "I will go," he said, his voice low but steady. The crowd turned, shocked. The generals sneered. "You? You could not even fight a child, and you think you will face the sandworm?" Laughter rippled again, but this time it sounded hollow, weak, uncertain. The human did not answer their insults. He simply picked up a short blade, nothing compared to the weapons of the alien warriors. He tied a small water bag to his side, wrapped his hands in cloth, and looked once more at the horizon where the sand still shook. The generals tried to stop him, saying he would only die and waste time. But in the eyes of the people, there was something new, something they had not seen before. Courage. Slowly, whispers spread. "Maybe he is a fool," someone said, "but at least he dares more than the rest of us." The human walked into the desert alone. The suns burned his skin, the sand cut his feet, and the wind carried the distant growl of the monster. Every step was heavy, but his mind burned with one thought. "They laughed at my weakness. but I will not let their princess die behind him. The palace and its towers grew smaller. Ahead of him, endless dunes stretched into silence. Beneath the sand, he could feel the faint tremors, the monster waiting. The festival of joy had turned into a funeral march. And the weakest human now walked toward a nightmare no warrior dared face. Would he return with the princess, or vanish forever into the belly of the sandworm? The desert stretched like an endless ocean of gold. Each step the human took sank deep into the burning sand. The suns above showed no mercy, their light sharp like blades. The heat wrapped around him like a fire blanket, but still he walked. Forward, behind him, the palace towers disappeared. The sounds of laughter and doubt faded away. He was alone now, only the desert and the monster ahead. But the silence was never complete. The sand trembled from time to time, a whisper of the beast beneath. It was like walking on the skin of some giant animal, waiting, watching. Every tremor reminded him. The sandworm was near. The human remembered the princess's voice, her laughter, when she listened to his stories of earth, her kindness when she defended him against the others, and her eyes, the only eyes in the empire that never looked at him with hate. Those memories gave him strength when his body wanted to fall. Hours passed. His throat was dry, his lips cracked, his feet bleeding, but he refused to stop. He followed the faint trail where the sand had broken, the marks of the beast moving under the desert. At last, the trail ended in a great shadow, a canyon hidden deep in the dunes. The ground split wide, jagged rocks like broken teeth. The human stood at the edge and looked down, and what he saw stole his breath. The canyon was not empty. It was a graveyard. Bones lay scattered across the sand, huge and ancient, the skeletons of alien beasts, warriors' armor half buried, and among them, broken banners of the empire's past. This was the lair of the sandworm. This was where it dragged its prey, and somewhere in the darkness below, the princess was alive or gone. The human's hands shook as he gripped his blade. He knew stepping down meant no return. The beast was a nightmare that even the strongest warriors feared, and yet here he was, weak in their eyes. Standing at its door, he climbed down, slowly, carefully, the rocks tearing at his skin. Every sound echoed, every stone that fell sounded like thunder, and then he heard it. A voice, faint, trembling, echoing against the stone. Help, someone. His heart leapt. It was her. The princess was alive, her voice weak but clear. He moved faster, cutting his hands on the sharp rock, sliding down into the shadows. At the bottom of the canyon, he found her. She was trapped inside a broken cage of stone, fallen. During the monster's attack, her golden robes were torn, dust covering her face. But when her eyes met his, they widened in shock. You? You came? She whispered. He nodded, though his throat was dry and words refused to come. He pulled at the rocks, one by one, his weak arms shaking. It felt impossible, but he kept going. The princess placed her hand on his shoulder, her eyes soft. I thought no one would dare, she said. You dared. The words gave him fire, with a final push. He freed her from the cage. She stumbled, but he caught her, and for a moment there was silence. The human and the princess standing in the dark graveyard of the sandworm. But silence never lasted. The ground trembled. Harder this time, dust fell. From the canyon walls, bones rattled against stone, and then came the roar, a sound so deep it shook the air inside their chests. The sandworm had returned. Its body burst from the sand. Scales as hard as stone, its mouth opened wide, a circle of endless teeth. Its eyes burned like fire, locking on the two small figures below. The princess screamed, clutching his arm. The human raised his short blade. It looked like nothing against such a giant. The beast roared again, the sound tearing the air apart, and then it struck, the ground exploding as it dived toward them. The human grabbed the princess's hand, and pulled her toward the rocks. They ran, stumbling, climbing, while the sandworm smashed into the ground behind them. Sand and stone flew like storms. The canyon shook as if the world itself wanted to break. For a moment, it seemed hopeless. The beast was faster, stronger, and this was its lair. But as they climbed, the human noticed something. The walls of the canyon were covered in mark scratches, old wounds in the stone, and in one place, buried half in the sand, he saw it. A spear, old and broken, but glowing faintly with strange light. He pulled it free. The spear was heavy, humming with power, an ancient weapon left by a warrior long dead. The princess gasped. "That's a weapon of the First Empire, from before our time." The sandworm rose again, blocking the sky. The human tightened his grip on the glowing spear. He had been mocked, called weak, ignored by all. But now, standing between the monster and the princess, he felt something he had never felt before. Not weakness, but destiny. The beast screamed and lunged. The human raised the spear, its light burning in the darkness. The desert itself seemed to hold its breath as the weakest human prepared to face the greatest nightmare of the empire. The air inside the canyon grew heavier. The glowing spear hummed in the human's grip, almost alive. The princess clung to his arm, her voice trembling. "You can't fight it. No one ever has." But the human did not answer. He kept his eyes on the sandworm. The creature towered above them, its scales hard as stone, its mouth opened wide, a ring of endless teeth grinding together. Its roar shook the sky itself, sending waves of dust falling. The ground split open as the sandworm slammed down. The human pulled the princess aside just in time. A wall of sand and broken bones exploded upward. The canyon floor shattered. For a moment, it felt like the end. But then, something strange happened. The glowing spear pulsed. A beam of light flashed across the canyon. The sandworm hissed, pulling back as if burned. The princess gasped, her eyes wide. "That weapon, it hurts the beast." The human tightened his grip. For the first time, the monster looked uncertain. The great hunter of the desert afraid? It circled them, its massive body curling through the canyon, its shadow swallowing the human and the princess in darkness. The human raised the spear. The glowing light cut through the dust like a star in the night. And then he charged, not away, but straight at the monster. His legs burned, his lungs screamed, but he ran faster than ever before. The sandworm struck. Its giant mouth came down, teeth snapping. The human leapt to the side, rolling across the broken stone. His body was weak, but the spear guided him. It moved in his hands like it knew where to strike. He drove it into the sandworm's side. The monster shrieked. Its blood was black fire, spilling across the ground. The canyon shook as it thrashed. The human was thrown aside, his body crashing against the rocks. The princess screamed his name. He staggered to his feet, his chest aching, blood in his mouth. But he did not stop. The spear glowed brighter, pulling him forward again. The sandworm roared and dove beneath the sand. The ground trembled violently. The princess grabbed his arm, fear in her eyes. "It's going underground. It's going to strike from below." Before he could answer, the sand erupted beneath them. A monster burst upward, its jaws wide. The human grabbed the princess and pushed her away. Then he raised the spear. At the very last moment, he drove it upward into the monster's throat. Light exploded. The sandworm screamed, its massive body twisting. The ground cracked open as it thrashed in agony. For a moment, the human thought it was over, that he had slain the nightmare, but the glow did not fade. Instead, the spears. Light spread into the monster's body. Its scales burned away, and beneath the flesh of the sandworm, something else moved. The human and the princess froze. As the monster's body split apart, from the broken shell of the beast, a new shape began to rise. It was not a worm at all. It was armor, ancient, black, covered in glowing runes, and inside that armor, eyes opened. Not beast's eyes, but human-like eyes, burning with fire. The princess fell to her knees, her voice shaking. No? This isn't just a creature, it's a guardian, a prison. The human gripped the spear tighter. What do you mean? She stared at the monster as the armored figure climbed out of the broken sandworm shell. That thing, it wasn't alive. It was made to hold something inside. Something ancient. Something our ancestors sealed away. The armored figure stepped forward. Its voice echoed, deep and inhuman. Who dares awaken me? The human's breath caught in his throat. This was worse than any beast. This was no monster of sand and teeth. This was an ancient warrior, sealed inside the creature for centuries. The glowing spear trembled in his hands, almost as if warning. Him, the figure raised its massive blade, black fire running down its edge. You are weak, human. You are prey. Yet you freed me. For that, I will give you one gift. The human's body tensed. The princess clung to him, whispering, Don't fight. You can't win. But the human's eyes narrowed. For the first time, he felt no fear. He stepped forward, raising the glowing spear, and his voice, though cracked and soft, carried across the canyon. Then take this gift back. Because I'm not here to die. I'm here to protect her. The armored figure tilted its head, and then it laughed. The sound was sharp, cold, filling the canyon. Good. If you want to protect her, then survive me. The ground shook again as black flames rose around them. The air turned heavy. Canyon itself seemed to trap them inside, and so the battle of destiny began, not against a beast, but against an ancient warrior who had slept inside a monster for centuries. The human tightened his grip on the spear. The princess clutched the broken rocks, whispering prayers, and above them, the stars began to fade as the desert sky darkened. As if the world itself was watching what would happen next, the canyon was silent, except for the echo of the armored figure's laugh. The broken shell of the sandworm still smoked, its bones glowing like embers, but all eyes were fixed on the warrior who had risen from within. His armor was black stone fused with steel, carved with runes that flickered red. A heavy blade rested. In his hands, its edge jagged, dripping with black fire that hissed against the sand. The princess clutched her chest, whispering, No one survives the guardian. It was sealed for a reason. The human did not look away. The glowing spear throbbed with light, almost as if it too recognized the being before them. The guardian's voice rumbled like thunder. Human, fragile, thin, weak. And yet you. Carry the weapon of my enemy. He pointed his burning blade at the spear. That light should not exist anymore. Who gave it to you? The human's voice was steady, though his heart raced. I didn't find it. It found me. The guardian tilted his head, then laughed again. Then it chose wrong. I am the first and the last shield of this desert. I was chained inside that beast to fight forever against the invaders. But now, I will test you. Before the princess could scream a warning, the guardian moved Dot. It was not a charge. It was not a run. It was something faster, a blur of black steel crossing the canyon. The human barely lifted the spear in time. The guardian's blade slammed. Down, the ground cracked open under the force. The shockwave hurled the human backward. He rolled across the sand, his ribs screaming in pain. The princess shouted his name. The guardian did not even look at her. He stalked forward, step by step, each footstep shaking the canyon walls. The human forced himself to stand, dust filling his lungs. The glowing spear's light steadied him. He whispered to himself, I'm not here to win. I'm here to protect her. And then he ran. The guardian swung. The blade cut through the air with a howl. The human ducked under it, sparks flying as the edge grazed stone. He thrust the spear forward. Its tip stabbed the guardian's chest. The canyon lit up with a blast of light. The guardian staggered for the first time. His armor cracked, red light leaking out. The princess gasped. He hurt him, but the guardian only smiled behind the mask. Good, you are not prey. Not yet. He raised his hand. The broken canyon walls trembled. Rocks lifted into the air and then flew toward the human like a storm. The human spun, dodging, each stone crashing into the sand with explosive force. One boulder smashed against his shoulder. He fell to his knees, blood dripping from his mouth. The princess tried to run toward him, but the guardian raised his hand again, and the sand beneath her feet turned to chains. They wrapped around her ankles, pulling her down. She screamed, trapped. The guardian's voice boomed. Do you see, human? You cannot protect her. You are too weak. You always were. The human's vision blurred. His body felt broken, but the spear's glow pulled him back again. He planted it into the ground, using it to stand. He looked up at the guardian, his voice rough but unbroken. Maybe I'm weak. Maybe I can't win, but I'll never stop fighting for her. The spear answered. Its light surged brighter than ever before. The canyon shook, and for a moment, even the guardian's steps halted. The human dashed forward, faster than his body should have allowed, the spear's light guiding his path. He leapt, his entire weight behind the strike. The glowing tip of the spear slammed into the guardian's mask. The explosion lit up the desert. The mask shattered. Fragments of black stone flew into the air. The guardian stumbled back. For the first time, his face was revealed. It was not alien. It was not beast. It was human. The princess froze, her eyes wide with horror. Her voice cracked. Impossible. He's one of us. The guardian wiped blood from his mouth, his eyes burning with red fire. Yes, I was human. Once, but the desert took me. The desert made me eternal. And it will take you too. He raised his blade again, this time with both hands. Black fire raging around him, the ground itself splitting under his rage. The human steadied his grip on the spear. The princess still struggled against the chains, her tears falling into the sand. The canyon now held its breath. As the ancient warrior and the frail human stood face to face, one born from weakness, one corrupted by strength, both tied to the same desert, both unwilling to back down, the guardian's voice rose again. This is no longer a fight. This is a trial. If you survive me, you inherit my curse. The human's heart pounded. His eyes did not leave the burning warrior before him. The desert winds howled louder. The stars above vanished in a storm of black clouds. And then they both charged. The storm swallowed the canyon. Black clouds circled above, lightning tearing through the sky, as if the heavens themselves wanted to witness this duel. The guardian swung first. His burning blade carved the air, a trail of black, fire stretching from earth to sky. The human blocked with the glowing spear. The clash shook the desert. Sparks of white and red exploded, blinding light scattering across the canyon walls. The princess covered her eyes, her chains rattling as she cried out, "Stop! You'll destroy everything." But neither man heard her. The trial had begun. The guardian pressed forward, every strike heavy enough to crush mountains. The human staggered under each blow, the spear rattling in his hands, his arms burning, his breath short. "You are not strong enough." The guardian roared, "You will fail as I failed." The human slid back, his boots carving trenches into the sand. But still he stood. He coughed blood, wiped it from his mouth, and whispered, "Then let me fail trying." The guardian froze, just for a moment. Those words echoed, like something he had once said, long ago. His fury only grew. With a howl, he raised his blade, and the ground beneath the human's feet split open. From the cracks, sand poured upward like water, shaping into monstrous forms, serpents, wolves, and warriors made of dust. They charged, snarling, fangs made of stone. The human spun his spear, the glowing light cutting through them, each beast exploding into sand. But they kept coming. Endless. The princess screamed, "Don't give up. You're the only one left." Her voice carried through the storm, and something inside the human answered it. His chest burned. The spear pulsed with light brighter, faster, until it was no longer just a weapon. It was alive. The human gripped it tighter. With a roar, he slammed the spear into the ground. A wave of white fire erupted outward, sweeping through the sand beasts. They dissolved instantly, the desert itself trembling under the blast. When the light faded, only the guardian remained, his armor cracked, glowing red lines spreading across it. His eyes widened, not with rage, but recognition. He whispered, "The spear, it has awakened for you?" The human stood tall, even with blood staining his shirt, even with his body trembling. "I don't know why it chose me," he said, "but I won't let it go. Not while she's in danger." He looked toward the princess, still trapped, her eyes wide with hope. The guardian's laugh shook the canyon. "Good, you fight with heart, but heart is not enough." He tore off what remained of his cracked armor, revealing his body. Not flesh, not fully human anymore. His skin glowed like molten rock, veins of fire crawling across his arms. He was the desert itself, bound to this land, cursed to never leave. "You want to protect her? Then protect her from me." And with that, the chains holding the princess tightened, pulling her deeper into the ground. She screamed, the sand rising to swallow her whole. The human's eyes went wide. He sprinted toward her, but the guardian stepped in front, blocking his path with the burning blade. The human swung desperately, spear against sword, light against fire. The clash deafened the canyon, every strike costing him precious seconds. The princess's hands reached out, her face half buried already. "Save me!" The human roared, shoving the guardian back with all his strength, then leapt toward the chains. He stabbed the glowing spear into them, and they shattered, exploding into sparks of sand. He grabbed the princess's hand, pulling her free, just as the desert tried to drag her under again. She collapsed against him, breathing hard, tears streaking her dusty face. "You saved me?" But the guardian was not finished. His molten form towered above them, his eyes like burning suns. "You broke my seal. You freed her. But now you must pay the price." He raised his blade one last time, its fire spreading into the sky, turning the storm blood red. The princess clutched the human's arm, her voice trembling. "If he kills you, I'll be taken again. You're the only thing keeping me free." The human steadied himself, the spear glowing brighter than ever before. He looked into the guardian's burning eyes, and in that silence before the final clash, the guardian whispered softly, almost like a prayer, "Prove me wrong, human." The desert itself seemed to hold its breath. And then they charged. Again, light and fire colliding, the storm tearing open above them. The clash shook the sky. Light and fire tore the storm apart, the desert groaning under their battle. The human's arms bled, his chest heaved with every breath. The guardian stood tall, his molten body flickering like a dying sun. Then, suddenly, the guardian staggered. A crack split across his chest, bright light leaking out like broken glass. The human froze, his spear trembling in his hands. Even the storm grew quiet. The guardian fell to one knee, his fire dimming. From within the molten cracks, a human face flickered through. Scarred, weathered, but unmistakably human. The princess gasped, Her chains gone now, but her hands still clutched her chest. He's not a monster. The human stepped closer, his voice unsteady. You were like me. The guardian lifted his head. His burning eyes softened, for the first time showing pain, not rage. I was, he said, his voice breaking like shattered stone. Long ago, I was chosen. The desert gave me the spear, and I swore I would protect her. My princess. The storm rumbled as if it too remembered. The guardian closed his eyes. She was beautiful, brave. I thought I could keep her safe, but the desert, it always takes. I failed. She died, and the gods of sand cursed me. His molten body shook. With fury, they bound me to this canyon. My flesh turned to fire, my soul to chains. I became the guardian, not to protect, but to test. Every generation, when a new warrior is chosen by the spear, I must face him. I must break him. And if he survives, the curse passes on. The princess's lips trembled. So, you're trapped forever. The guardian's fiery jaw clenched. Yes, if you win, human, you inherit my chains. You will guard this canyon until the desert swallows you whole. The human's heart pounded. The spear burned hotter in his grip, as if it already knew. The truth. No, he whispered. I didn't come here to be a prisoner. I came here to save her. The guardian laughed, but the laugh was broken, tainted with sorrow. That's what I said too. The princess stepped forward, her voice desperate. There must be another way. You don't have to fight. Let him free you. Let him break the curse. The guardian's molten hand shook. His human face flickered again beneath the cracks. For a moment, it looked like he wanted to believe her. But then the desert roared. The sand rose in waves around them, the storm tightening above. The guardian's voice deepened, no longer just his own, but layered with the voices of countless gods. There is no freedom. Only trial, only sacrifice. His body split further, molten armor shattering into the air. What stood before them now was no longer a man, not even a guardian, but something far older. Half of him still glowed with molten flesh. Half of him was pure storm, a god of desert and fury, a being too vast, too ancient, to ever be free. The princess fell to her knees. Gods above, he's become the desert itself. The human gritted his teeth, fear twisting inside him. But then he looked at her, her trembling frame, her pleading eyes. And he knew he couldn't turn back. He raised the glowing spear, its light now blazing brighter than ever before, so bright it pushed back the storm. I'll fight, he said, his voice steady despite the terror. But not to take your curse, not to repeat your pain. I'll fight to end it. The guardian's eyes burned like suns. Then end me, human, if you can. The canyon cracked apart, sand erupting upward like fire. The storm collapsed into the battlefield. It was no longer a fight. It was the desert itself rising to crush them. The human charged, the princess's scream echoing behind him. Light against fire, hope against curse, man against God. And in that moment, the desert held its breath, waiting to see. If this weak human could do what no one else ever had. The desert was alive. The sand lifted like oceans. Canyons cracked open with fire. And the storm above roared like a god waking from its eternal sleep. The guardian stood in the center, half molten, half storm, a creature no longer human, but not yet a god either. His voice thundered across the battlefield. Human, the curse demands blood. If you cannot break me, you will become me. The human's grip tightened on the glowing spear. The light pulsed as if it had a heartbeat, beating in rhythm with his own. Behind him, the princess cried out, Don't! If you strike him down, you'll only take his place. Please, there must be another way. The human turned his head slightly, his eyes steady on hers. Her fear gave him strength. Her hope gave him fire. I didn't come this far to be a prisoner, he whispered. I came here for you. And then he ran. The guardian raised both arms, sand and fire crashing down like mountains falling. The desert tried to swallow thee, human whole, but the spear cut through the storm like sunlight breaking dawn. The clash shook the earth. Each strike of the spear echoed like thunder. Each roar of the guardian tore the sky apart. Still, the human fought. His body bled, his knees buckled, but his heart burned brighter than any flame. Finally, the spear drove deep into the guardian's chest. Molten fire exploded outward, the storm screaming in agony. The guardian staggered back. His body cracked. Open, light pouring from within like 1,000 suns. For a heartbeat, the storm grew silent. The desert paused. The guardian fell to his knees. His fiery face flickered, revealing the human man he once was. His eyes, weary, broken, yet strangely peaceful. You did it, he whispered. You ended me. But then his smile faded. And his trembling hand pointed to the spear. No, look closer. The curse is not gone. The human looked down. The spear's light, once golden, had turned black. Its glow now chained his arm, burning symbols crawling up his skin. The guardian's cracked voice echoed. The desert demands a keeper. If you kill the guardian, you take his place. That is the law of the sands. The human's chest went cold. His worst fear had come true. The princess screamed, rushing to him. No, there has to be another way. Please don't. Let them take you. But the guardian shook his head. It is too late. The curse has chosen. Unless you break the cycle. The human narrowed his eyes. How? The guardian's molten body began to collapse. His voice was fading, but his words burned into the air. Do what I could not. Don't fight for yourself. Don't fight for glory. Give the desert something stronger than fear. Something it cannot chain. Give it. Love? The human froze. Love? Against a curse born of gods? But when he looked at the princess, her face stained with tears, her hands gripping his as if she could hold him here forever, he understood. He turned, pulling her close, the cursed spear still burning in his hand. The desert roared in fury, the black chains crawling higher on his arm. But instead of raising the weapon, he dropped it. The spear sank into the sand with a hiss. The storm howled. The earth shook. The human wrapped his arms around the princess, and he whispered, if the desert demands chains, then let it chain us together. Not as guardian and prisoner, but as human and princess. Light burst from his chest. Not golden, not black, but pure white. A light that was neither weapon nor curse, but choice. The storm screamed louder. The desert trembled, but the light did not fade. The curse cracked. Chains shattered like glass. The canyon walls broke apart, collapsing into dust. And in that moment, the guardian, once human, once cursed, smiled. His body dissolved into sand, finally free. The desert grew quiet. The storm faded. The earth rested. The human fell to his knees, the princess catching him in her arms. His body was weak, his skin burned, but his eyes still burned with life. You did it, she whispered. Her voice broke with relief. You ended it. The curse is gone. He smiled faintly. No, we did it, together. And then the desert breathed its last. The endless storm that had raged for centuries vanished. The canyon that had swallowed warriors for generations collapsed into silence. The curse that had chained men to fire and stone was no more. The princess lifted him to his feet, and together, hand in hand, They walked out of the ashes dot behind them. The desert lay still, its fury finally broken. For the first time in centuries, the sands were free, and so was he.